Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Knapik. Every week we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions, and along the way, get ideas to enhance success in all categories of your life. Successful Living with Bill Knapik starts right now. And here's your host, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show, Successful Living with Bill Knapik. And today, Successful Living with Ted Heap. He is the constable here in Houston, Texas of Precinct 5. Constable, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Great to be here today, and thank you for having me on.
It is awesome. You are right here. As Houston grows, you have seen the growth. You have such an important position in leadership for our community here, Precinct 5. First of all, let's tell people the role that you play here as the constable in Precinct 5.
Surely. Well, Precinct 5, first of all, is one of 8 constables' precincts within Harris County. Precinct 5 is a huge precinct, and when I say huge, we're talking about 1.2 million people.
That's a lot.
Probably, it is a lot, and probably in excess of, or close to, let's say, 300 square miles. So if you were to look at a map, you would be kind of like a big pie section on the west side of Houston. Maybe let's just say 610 loop all the way out 290, anything south of 290, then back to the county line through Katy, back to 59, and then up through Meyerland and Maplewood and Westbury, things of that nature. So it's a huge area representing kind of a pie section on the west side.
And you say Meyerland, so you're even kind of close to downtown. That's not really that far away. So I'm surprised the precinct goes that far in.
It does on that south side. In other words, as we travel up 59, the West Park Toll Road and things like this, it niches up into the corner there. We butt up against, obviously, some of the other constables' precincts. But if you look at a map, it looks like a pie that's coming off of 610 Loop and shoots out on the west side.
And it wasn't that long ago I lived in the city of Houston, and actually my address is Houston right now, but I'm as far west as you know as you can be in Houston. But I was close to the loop there in Houston, and I have been used to policemen, HPD. So when I came out west, further west, I saw the cars, constable, and I'm thinking, okay, what is the difference? Maybe I'm the only one that thinks this, but I have a feeling other people may get confused in the terminology between police officers, constables, sheriffs.
Especially in a city like Houston. I mean, we live in a wonderful city. Harris County is a great county. But we also have a lot of people coming in for businesses. We have people who are moving in, who move out, who get transferred. So that is a very commonly asked question. The reality is that in Harris County, we have close or over 60 law enforcement agencies, so it can be very confusing for people who are not accustomed to that. The difference between a constable, or what a constable actually goes back all the way to the Roman times. I mean, the constable meant keeper of the stable, which was a very important job back then. But all the way to 1836, I want to say, was probably when the first constable was appointed by the governor of Texas. That was the Republic of Texas. And then in 1876, Precinct 5 had their first constable by the name of C. Bolt. And since then, there's been 22 different constables that have been elected. We are elected to 4-year terms. But the difference between the two, as far as for the citizen out there, is probably could be described as the difference being the uniform. In other words, they have the same arrest power. They have the same power. They have the same jurisdiction. They're just different roles within the law enforcement community. The sheriff, generally speaking, is the primary law enforcement in unincorporated Harris County, whereas the city of Houston has the Houston Police Department. Precinct 5, you can tell by the boundaries that I described, we have about 60% of our precinct that falls within the city of Houston. So the law enforcement roles that we play within the city of Houston really meld very well with HPD. We work right alongside of them. We do city reports. The officers of our department who work within the city have city payroll numbers. And that doesn't mean the city pays their salary. What it means is that we have the same detectives. We can call and utilize the same air support when need be, or canine units. So the officers are communicating very well. In the unincorporated Harris County, it's the same way with the sheriff's department. So yes, we write tickets. Yes, we can work accidents. Yes, we can do investigations. Precinct 5 has their own investigation division. We have motorcycles. We have canine units. We're responsible here also for all of the parks, over 60 parks that are responsible or that are on the west side of town in the Commissioner Precinct 3's area.
And there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. Commissioner Steve Raddick in this area has been very proactive as far as creating family atmospheres within parks. So he has entrusted us to be able to patrol and to keep safe those parks, as well as some of the senior centers and the community centers also. So so we have the toll roads also. We run the Sam Houston Toll Road from 290 to 59, and of course the West Park, just about all the West Park, as well as the managed lanes on Interstate 10. So a lot of different responsibilities.
And people listen in a variety of professions. Certainly we're here, they say, the fourth largest city. We still hear it's soon to be the third. Maybe it isn't since we've even started this interview. Who knows? But at any given time, when we think about law enforcement, such an important role in our community, in our nation even, but at any given time in this large landmass, this large city, Houston, Texas, we could feel good that there's a lot of law enforcement out there protecting us. And I use that term a lot. But it sounds like from a number standpoint, in your Precinct 5, even HPD, there's a lot of protection that we have, a lot of police officers out there helping us, and then, of course, all the support staff. Would that be correct?
That would be correct. The beauty in law enforcement is that we understand that we have, in some cases, different jurisdictions. We have some different responsibilities, areas of responsibility. But when it comes to the criminal side of it and fighting crime, the criminals, the bad guys, they don't know boundaries. They don't say, hey, this is where Precinct 5 stops and this is where Precinct 4.
Let's turn around and go there. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
They don't say we're in the city of Houston, we're out in the county now. So we have to really be able to communicate. We also have to be able to share information with each other, and we have to be able to take down some of those barriers that sometimes block us. They block us whether or not it's our own egos, or whether or not it's politics, or whether or not it's just different ways that we operate as far as administrations go. We have to be able to take those down so we can better serve the citizens of Harris County, because that's ultimately what we decided to do in our vocation of law enforcement.
Give us an idea. You've been a constable in Precinct 5 for how long, and what did you do prior to this?
Well, it's a pretty simple answer, because actually I've been in law enforcement with Harris County, started when I was 21 years old. So this has been pretty much my only job. Started as a young man, raised a family, been married to my beautiful wife Jennifer for 36 years. I have 2 great kids and 2 wonderful grandchildren. So this is all I've known. I've worked at every rank, have promoted up through the system. I've worked every shift, midnight shifts, triple split shifts, evening. There's not anything that I haven't done.
What's a triple split shift? I got to ask that.
Well, actually, that was a point in my career where I was assigned to work 2 midnights, 2 evening shift, and 1 day shift all in the same week. And that went on for almost 2 years. And yeah, that's enough to kill you. Not a real good management decision.
It's like a boot camp, it sounds like.
Well, it really was. You didn't know if you were coming or going, much less trying to raise a family and have a life outside of the uniform. But so this has really been all that I have known is the constable's office and serving the people of Harris County.
Well, let me say this to you and anyone in law enforcement that may be listening. Thank you for your service.
You're very welcome.
I say that so sincerely. It's so important, and I think we're at a point in time where sometimes people are starting to forget that, certainly in certain areas. Your role as you are doing such important things, fighting crime, traffic, controlling traffic in itself, that element in Houston is unbelievable to have any part in that, and certainly to make sure motorists are driving within the rules and all those things. But it's a big picture, and it's a big leadership picture. So if someone's listening, maybe they're not a constable, maybe they're not in law enforcement, but they may be a leader too that has a big group they're leading. You're leading, I believe, about over 400 people as far as their activities and the scope of your work. What are some of the leadership things that you've learned through these many years, through some of the tough challenges that, from a leadership standpoint, they might apply to other careers that you say, you know what, that I have to keep doing that because that works, I've found. Maybe you didn't know it right away the first day you got on the job, but we learned these things along the way. So from a leadership standpoint, what are some of the things you could share with people that maybe they can use in whatever they do?
Well, as you had mentioned, I don't know if law enforcement is particularly different than anything else, other than the fact of that the decisions that we make in a lot of situations are decisions that could hold somebody's life in their hands, whether or not it's the public or whether or not it's your officers. So, you have to take that into consideration. But I can honestly say that I believe what makes a good leader is a couple things. I think first of all is that you have to be able to. Being a leader is exactly that. It has to be a person that is willing to do something that he's asking others to do. But most importantly, I believe that you have to be grounded as an individual. I sit across in this desk right here every new hire that comes in, and I talk to them and tell them. Maybe it's a wrong approach, but it's almost a parental discussion. And it's because of the fact that, I don't want anybody to have this badge right here identifying who they are as a person. I believe that the badge is one spoke in your wheel. You're a husband, you're a father, you're somebody's child, you're a person of faith, you're a volunteer within the community, and you're a police officer. When you start looking at a badge as your total identity, I think that you've lost perspective of what we are called to do. I truly believe that this isn't something that you run to, nor should you be running from. It's something that you feel you have a vocation, a calling to do. Because if you really are doing it for any other reason than to try to make a difference within your community, I think you're in it for the wrong reason. So I always ask them this, is that, you cannot, or I tell them this, I said, you have to like who you see in the mirror when you wake up in the morning. So you have to like the person. If you're a good person, then I believe you'll be a good police officer. But you can be a good police officer, and not necessarily be a good person. So you have to, as far as I'm concerned, is what makes a cop is what's inside of you. So you have to be able to like the person that you are. So in other words, keep grounded, keep your perspective. Don't let the badge give you your total identity. It's a job, it's a vocation, it's a calling to help your community and to serve your community. But I don't believe it should be your total identity. And that has served me well. So in leadership, that is something, especially when you have young officers, 21, 22, 23 years old coming in, and they don't have the life experience that you and I have.
That's right. We're getting older now.
We
learn, and I think it's great. As just a note about aging, as I have looked at every decade and looked back in my life, 30 years old. When I hit 40, I remember the decade of being 40. I felt there's a certain enlightenment I felt, whether it was real or not. I kind of felt pretty good about the 40s, 50s, and I'm going to stop right there. But all that said, in your role, you are dealing with the people that are working in your command, what you do every day as you interface with the team here and the associates, the many associates that you're working with, but also you're reaching out to the community. And you have a relationship with the community. So to say it's a big job, it's a gigantic job. But tell us about reaching out to the community. The first time I saw you is, I think, the first time in my neighborhood where they had the neighborhood association meeting, and you got up there and talked, and you related to that little group in the Katy area of Houston. So talk about the relationship of the community, not just with you as the leader, but also as the officers are out there and also the employees that are right here at this Precinct 5.
Well, there's, each person, each officer has their own personality, and we understand that, and that's what makes, mankind so great. But we have to, you talked about having a relationship with the community. That's what this is all about. It's about having relationships, building bridges. It's very important that we build those bridges, and not just between the people that share the common era as you and me, or generation as you and me. We have to build them with the youngsters too. We have to build them with the youth, because they're our future, and they have to have an understanding of what law enforcement is there for, what the role that law enforcement plays, how we can help them, and how we can assist them, and the difference that we can make in the quality of their life. I believe that it's very important to have that avenue of communication open with the people that you serve. There should be no time that somebody cannot stop an officer and ask them. There's certain programs that we have that are based on that. In other words, like our Silver Watch program, where we actually have seniors who can register, and what that does is allows us, or a loved one can register them, allows us to go by and check with them on a regular basis. So Deputy Johnson drives by Mrs. Smith's house and stops once a week. Miss Smith, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing just fine. Hey, I got something in the mail. Is this a scam or is it not? Can you tell me what happened down the street? Should I worry about this? Is it okay to have this light turned off at night? And Mrs. Smith is now building a relationship with this officer and vice versa. It also helps us in times where we're dealing with things such as flooding or hurricanes to be able to say, Miss Smith doesn't have anybody here to help her. Let's be sure she's got electricity and food and things of this nature, or whether or not we need to evacuate her. So little programs like that. Our Citizens Police Academy, extremely popular. And we've seen the success of that to be able to build the bridge and show people what it's like behind the scene of our badge, but also to teach us how citizens are feeling. So we've taken that and we've lowered that down and brought it down, taken out a few things. Obviously, we don't go to the gun range and let them drive patrol cars, but we've put that into a couple school districts now for our teen academy, which has been really a blessing. So we take the young men and women that are in these high schools and we give them an inside look and we learn from them also. And that's currently in the Spring Branch Independent School District is activated into this program. We're touching base now and starting some activity in the Katy Independent School District. But that's a wonderful program. But it's all based on communication. It's all based on sharing the experience. And I truly believe what makes that is, as you said, you and I live in the same area. So I am a member of this community. This is where my children live. This is where my grandchildren live and where they go to school. It's where I shop. It's where my wife, does everything that she does. So it's important that, we have a safe community and that we have exactly that, a community of people.
And the key to relating to the community, as you gave that example, is knowing the community, to know who the neighbors are, to know who the people are and whatever their situation is. In fact, where I live, not far from you, is I just feel good when I see the constable car go by. It's just a great thing. I like that a lot. The other thing that I remember upon meeting you, we're talking to Constable Ted Heap, Precinct 5, right here in the fourth largest city, Houston, Katy, some of the surrounding areas. But I remember when you talked at our homeowners association, you actually encourage people, if you see something out of sorts, if we can help you, here's our phone number, call us. Now, I don't know that all law enforcement agencies do that or want to do it, or they just hope no one calls. I don't know, but I knew as a new resident, that made me feel good, and that was quite different from where I was before. I like that.
Well, I think it's vitally important if we are going to. There's two things, in my opinion, that curtails crime, and that is visibility. We have to be seen. We have to have people know that we're out there. And the second thing is our response time. In other words, if we're where we're supposed to be and we have ample coverage, then if the people who are out there that are up to no good know that, one, we're in the area, and two, that we're going to be there within 3 minutes, then the reality is, they're going to move on to somewhere else. And ultimately, no, not that you're trying to push them outside somewhere else, but you're trying to curtail and hopefully they'll decide that, this isn't worth it. So it is important that the officers know the area, the officers know the people that they're serving. Another good example of that is our vacation watches. In other words, when somebody leaves and they put a vacation watch, they can fill out, and they fill out every information and it's very secure as far as the information, but when are you leaving, what lights are going to be on, what cars will be in the driveway, which cars won't be.
Well, I didn't know about
Aunt
that.
Minerva's coming over on Tuesdays to feed the cat. So as this officer is driving by and he sees a car that's not supposed to be there, or he sees lights on that aren't, and even when he doesn't, he stops, and usually, call load permitting, once a shift, hopefully we'll get a chance to get out, walk around the house, be sure to note that we haven't had anything compromised in the back or things like that.
That's a good point. And that makes me think, I didn't know about that. So it sounds like if I go on vacation, I fill out this form and let you know I'm going to be gone for a week or two. Sounds like a super feature.
That is correct, and you can call the office. You can do it through the phone. You can go on the website and fill out those types of forms. There's a lot of different programs that Precinct 5 has.
Well, just in case there's another program or two that people don't know about, we may not have time to cover them all, but also animals. That's how you and I met the other day. I found a lost dog. That lost dog chased your cat into the tree. I met your wife. She lent me a leash to take this dog to safety. Then I met you. one bit, and the dog, by the way, for those listening, it's a happy ending. We found the dog's owner, and that's great, and we get to do this interview. But you mentioned, too, there's some things you're doing, not just to help people in the community, but animals. Animals are a big part of our lives, and what happens with, I think it was animal cruelty, that there's some initiatives that are forth.
Correct. A couple of years ago, we sat down with Crime Stoppers and Houston Pet Set and a couple other non-profits and sat down and said, the biggest challenge when it comes to animal crimes is the fact that people don't know where to report it to. Do you call the city? Are we in the city? Are we in the county? Or whose precinct are we in? Do we call Animal Control, SPCA, Houston Humane, whatever? So the point to the Harris County Animal Cruelty Task Force is that we established, first of all, one common number, 927-PAWS, PAWS, and then the website is paws.org. So you can go on and you can report animal crimes anywhere, and it's going to come to our office. We triage it and send it out. It might be an animal control officer that's going out. It might be an officer, a deputy that's going out that's trained in animal cruelty. So, yes, we work with the Harris County District Attorney's Office very closely. The Sheriff's Department has personnel involved, Houston Police Department and stuff. So now all people have to remember is just call one number no matter where you are, and you can get the service. Now, if it's an emergency, if you're seeing an animal being abused on the spot, being drugged down the street or whatever in the back of a car, then call 911. The same process goes to where we will get the closest unit, regardless if they're versed in animal crimes or not, so that we can be of assistance that way.
So that's shared throughout all of Houston. So if that happens within downtown Houston or in Katy, that's great that is all tied up into one number. Also, let's tell people the website, as we have a few minutes left, of Precinct 5, if they want to learn about all the things that are going on here and how you're helping people.
Harris County Precinct 5 actually has just changed their website because of the fact that we have developed it to be more user-friendly. In other words, what we've done now is there's a lot of things you can go on, forms you can fill out. You can go and register for any of the 20 classes or so, 20 plus, that we have for from children, Hero Read, where we read to children, all the way up to our senior safety classes. And the important thing is that everything is free. There's no charge to anything. We'll go to your place of worship. We'll go to your community center. You can come here, whatever it is, and put these classes on. So people need to be aware of that, whether or not it's a scouting group, and the website is the place to go.
Precinct 5, the website is constablepct5.com, constablepct5.com.
And that will give you directly to our county webpage.
What else would you like people to know?
Well, I think most importantly is to understand that we had talked about communication, that as you had mentioned, that if you see something that is suspicious, it is suspicious. We don't have enough officers on the street. We can't be the eyes and ears everywhere. You have to be the eyes and ears. This is a force multiplier. If you see something that doesn't look right, then give us a call. 281-463-6666, 281-463-6666. This is a 24/7 dispatch number. Our officers. Now, all of Harris County is geocoded, which means that if you fall in another precinct, if you fall in another geographic area where the jurisdiction is different, you don't have to worry about it. We will send that immediately over to the proper jurisdiction. So if it's, in other words, if it's something to where the Sheriff's Department patrols that particular area, it'll be sent over to the Sheriff's Department or to one of the other precincts. Call us at any time. That is the key factor for our response time.
The number again is
281-463-6666.
You are super awesome. We're talking with Constable Ted Heap, Precinct 5. Thank you so much for being on the show. And also, once again, thank you and any law enforcement person out there, wherever you are in whatever city. Thank you for your service.
Bill, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Successful Living with Bill Knapik, and today, the one and only Constable Ted Heap. Thank you, Ted.
You're very welcome.
Precinct 5. The website is constablepct5.com.